Welcome back to Nicholas Comic Corner, Classic, less known classic. This episode number 2738, Doubleshot 2632. With this particular one, we're discussing some Martian Manhunter and Hawkman. First, Martian Manhunter, we're talking about a four-part feature. Well, 3 issues from one series and 1 issue from another. Yes, it's the Becca feature first from Adventure Comics 449 to 451, and it concludes in World's Finest 245, where they team with Batman and Superman. Now, this was in fact, at the time this was released, before I did a little research about this was the first solo story for Martian Manhunter released since the end of his feature from House Mission back in the 50s. And if you're curious, when was this 3-part feature released? Well, this was released from the period of, I'd say, about December 1976 and concluded in February of 1977. Yeah, it was the replacement backup feature in the book, replacing, actually, I think he had just joined, let's see, because there was some, I think the last backup feature they had was the Creeper. Yeah, it's like basically that the opening story was the Death of Prince storyline from Aquaman. Yeah, because it's basically picked up right where the Hawkman ongoing series left off, and this is just a brief 3-parter. Well, it's about a murder mystery and someone who dies, and of course they investigate the Justice League for it. Oh, by the way, Mars 2 is not in the solar system. It is a planet in the solar system of Cargenis, I believe it is. It didn't really appear very much in comics per se. No. It first appeared in 449 and returned in that very issue, and then popped up for Future of Justice League and Discovery Friends, and that was simply it for Mars 2. There is appearance in here from Mars 2 from DC Comics Presents 27. I'll discuss that when I get to DC Comics Presents. But yeah, then the story, like I said, concludes in 451. Well, it gets continued over in World's Finest 245. By the way, the writer of these 3 issues is Denny O'Neil, who does the opening issue. Part 2 is done by Denny and Marco Nasher. Yeah, pretty much these 3 do the feature itself. And as for the World's Finest issue, which continues over that, that's done by Bob Haney and Kurt Swan. Yeah, this was concluded like the very next month. And you're probably curious, did Martian have a feature in this book forward after this issue? No, he did not. I think because there was no desire for it per se, but that's my guess anyways. But it was a really interesting 4-part storyline. I'm going to get one at 9 out of 10. Next up we have is, well, we have the very first volume of Martian Manhunter released in 1988. This was a 4-issue miniseries written by Jay Matias. This actually was one of 4 miniseries Jay Matias wrote in 1988. He also made a series Mr. Miracle and Dr. Fate. Martian Manhunter at the time this book came out, he was lead of the JLI. We had Mark Badger on the artwork. This mostly put is, come on, thank you, Jesus. So in this 4-issue miniseries, it is mostly put, someone is trying to kill Martian right now. I'm not a big fan of the style of the artwork. I mean, the first character you see in the book is not Martian, but Batman, who's drawn like similarly to the style of like it's like in the case of Cal, similar to the Golden Age Batman. Yeah, and basically it's called Martian Manhunter suffered through some hallucinations that make him think he's on fire because it's fire, and throughout this book, he tries to solve basically that. Now, is it basically his... Now, who is actually responsible for this stuff? like is an old enemy from his old books. Well, it's some guy called Harimer, who is a character from basically from the final issue of Just Like America by Jamie Titius. Yeah, it's like he appeared here right after that one issue. He returned here for this 4-issue miniseries to torment him. Maybe because he was mad at Martian for beating him. He will return one issue next time, and Final Quest is recommend that's simply it for him. And of course, he gets help from the jail alive to fight this guy. You can think of it as basically tie up a loose end from Just Like America for this miniseries. By the way, Mark Badger himself also was the inker and the colorist, which can explain the colors. Really good miniseries, and would I recommend checking it out? Yes, he would. Of course, Martian himself would later return in issue 14 of Justice League International. And this might surprise you. Is this miniseries in trade? No, it is not. As for why it's not in trade, I have no idea. But that's kind of how it is. Okay, so I'm going to give the Martian Manhunter series a 9 out of 10. Next up we have some Hawkman. We're discussing the last 5 issues of Hawkman, Volume 2. Written by Don Perlin. Mostly put throughout these issues is basically Hawkman like saving a woman. It's basically just like the big storyline that took up the first 12 issues, that's done. It just mostly put just Hawkman just dealing with just some murders in Midway City. Yeah, it's like basically like it's like a cool down period for these last 2 issues of the book is ultimately canceled. Though of course they run into a guy named Bolt. Yes, Bolt. Yeah, he's a old. Yeah, Bolt himself last appeared. Well, Bolt, if you're curious, is he like a regular character for Hawkman? No, he's a character from Blue Devil. Yes, that's where he first appeared in Blue Devil. Well, he was recurring film for him, and he's here for Hawkman just for 2 issues. Yeah, so Hawkman fights him for a quick 2-parter. And then they move on. By the way, issue number 15 is like called The Winding Gur. It is mostly put just, well, Hawkman, Hawkgirl dealing with weird stuff. Some minor political stuff per se. And of course, Gentleman Ghost is here for many issues of the series. It's like, by the way, they classified these issues for Earth 85. Yes. Apparently it's like not canon per se. Oh, and here's a fun fact about issue number 16. First regular comic book first issue was $8 Yes. Yeah, I deal with this one named Miss Hunter. And well, there's also some lead up to stuff Millennium, which of course this book was canceled just prior to Millennium coming out. Millennium came out in January 1988. This book was ended just the previous month. So it's like they ended this book just so Hawkman could appear in Millennium. Yeah. But then pretty much after Millennium, then he got a new book. Yes. So, the 5 issues are okay. I think Bolt was an interesting villain for him to fight for his remaining issues of the book. I think Dan Pushkin did a pretty decent job with the book. Though you think, man, do you miss Tony Isabella's writing the book? Yes, I do. Because it just going through the motions. I can see why the book got canceled at this point in time. Because my guess is because at this point, like, I guess at issue 12, like, whatever awesome stuff we have for the first opening 12 issues, it's like these last few My opinion, it probably didn't hook people very much. Like, I'm sure having Bolt here was interesting because he had just shown up just not long before this. And it's like he's here, and then once he's gone, it's, I guess DC probably felt the book wasn't selling until this point in time. So let's cancel this book after 17 issues. And this will be the last Hawkman book. The next time we have a Hawkman solo book, whenever releases the following decade. But the very next book, both this book and Martian Manhunter, will be a books I really want to talk about. For Martian Manhunter is the John Ostrander run. A run I really want to talk about for a long time. And for Hawkman, it's one of my favorite runs for Hawkman. Hawk World by Timothy Truman. I'll talk about that in their time, but final thoughts on Hawkman Volume 2, because, well, we're kind of done with Hawkman Volume 2. Really interesting volume. I actually really enjoy it. I think that starting off, if you want to get a good grasp of this run, you have to start with Shadow War Hawkman. That's kind of where this starts. So you could say also kind of started with Showcase 101 and 103. You could say it kind of starts there, but definitely the main story of this book starts with Shadow War Hawkman miniseries, then continues Hawkman Special, then the first 12 issues per se, and then like they continue briefly afterwards. My guess is some people may have lost interest in this book at this period of time, and of course, the book was later deemed not like non-canon to the main DC universe. Why? I don't really know why, because they classify it as like Earth 1 Hawkman. So yeah, these books basically were deemed non-canon by DC Comics. Action Comics 588 because it featured Hawkman. One of the stories for, excuse me, yeah, some issues of more action and some one shots like Bride of the Demon, Brother of the Bat, League of the Batman, Son of the Batman, Creature Commanders first volume, 2 issues of Detective. Yeah, apparently these issues were deemed not canon, so I think they are collected in trade. Heck, even the really good Shazam New Beginning miniseries is not canon. I get maybe Changeman Volume 2 not be canon because that's set in the Vertigo universe. But Shazam New Beginning, yeah. But that's pretty much it for this particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check the channel notifications, and do hit the dislike button. Next up we have is My Hero Academia. Okay, next view. Bye.